So this is it, Jimmy. It's 40 by 48. Look at this sucker. Probably a little overkill for an office tank.
He's lost his mind. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Hello everyone, we're in not so sunny Florida today. As you guys can see, the weather's not the best, it's super windy. Past week, me, Josh, and a few of the guys, we've been working on his tank upgrade on his office. As you guys know, he went from his 80-gallon tank to a 125 and now got rid of the 80-gallon and actually is putting a giant frac tank, a 150-gallon tank. I'm gonna show you guys all the details. I helped them move the tank, most of the work it was them. It took a week to get to here, it was a lot of work. Anyhow, follow me along, we're gonna show you guys all the progress. Enjoy it.
Time to say farewell.
Yeah, the end of its era. All right, so obviously you can see we already started. We've got to drain this tank down. It's gonna go on this dolly. We're gonna wheel it across the room over there and temporarily set it back up. And then we have to drain this tank down the same way that we're doing here. Slide it down 4 or 5 inches. What did we come up with?
Yeah, that was about 3/4.
And that'll give us just enough room to put that frag tank in here. So, I mean, really it's just a bunch of moving water right now. That's pretty good, actually. We're trying to drain the back compartment because it was a little bit heavy when we picked it up. So I don't know if Sergio's weak.
Could be.
Yeah. But last time we moved this, it was the same exact way, and it went from that cubicle over there to this wall. I know we can do it. We just got to get enough water out of it.
Ready? 1,
Yep.
2. Fucking solid, dude. Let me get on that side for my right hand.
Yeah, it's this side, dude.
Yeah.
That side has more acros.
Let's take some more water out of it quick. This is a 45-gallon brute, and that's all the water, the back compartment and the front. So the 65-gallon tank holds 45 gallons of water. So remember, you gotta go up.
Yeah.
And if you could just kind of get it underneath there.
Yeah. 1, 2. Go down. Ready?
Yep. My gonis and my mushrooms were kind of getting beat up a little bit with the flow and the light. So I think that's what I'm most excited about. I can put more A-cans in, I can do more chalices, more blastos, things like that that don't really like being in this acro environment. You can do it in a big reef tank, but usually it's like a tall tank with a whole bunch of rock structure. Here, the zones aren't much different. The only different zone that I have is like these bottom left-hand and right-hand corners because they're lower flow and they're lower light. Everything else is pretty much the same. I don't think this will have to be here much more than an hour, maybe 2. The only reason why we're doing this is so that I can make space for the other frag tank. So we can move this tank, right? And then as soon as we're done, and that the 125 is in its final spot, then we're gonna take all these rocks and we're gonna try to keep the same shape and then kind of fill the left side of that 125. Probably turn the lights off on these because it's kind of a traumatic experience. It does need to add to it. This is that trick that I was trying to show you earlier. Take your hose, drop it into the water like this. It's easier when it's not such a big long hose, but as long as you put your finger on the end of it, all right? Fill it with water, fingers on the end. Whoa! Almost came out. We're siphoning. It's obviously dramatic because it's such a long hose. We're gonna drain this one down just like the last one. We're only gonna shuffle it like 5 inches that way. So this is it, Jimmy. Look at this sucker. It's 40 by 48. That's gonna be the sump that we use, and that fits underneath here. So we'll plumb both the 125 and this into it. It's all repurposed stuff. This came from one of our longtime customers. He tore down and he put a bigger tank in his house. So it's been sitting back in our warehouse for a while. Why not, right? It's huge. For an office tank, it's huge. 1, 2, 3. probably a little overkill for an office tank.
He's lost his mind. I don't know what we're gonna do. How are you gonna operate your desk?
No, look, this is perfect. This is what matters.
That's his office.
Chair height.
It's almost 5 o'clock and I've only gotten a little bit of plumbing done. We got the tank in place, the stand in place, the sump in place. So all the plumbing is gonna go around the back side of this stand to the 125 because we're trying to keep all of the wet stuff over here. So I can put all the controller and dry devices, you know, your power supplies and cables and everything under that. So my goal is before the end of the night to get that plumbed in so that the return is running, and then at least this has water and that tank is running. I can probably fill this up tomorrow morning. Overall pretty good. Definitely slower than I like to, but like I said, there's only 10 inches of space here to work. So here we are. I think this is day 3, which is pretty sad. One, I've got a lot of other obligations, and then 2, I kind of wanted to exaggerate the point here. We moved this 2 days ago and nothing in here is phased. All my acros are still nice and fluffy. They still got all their color. Everything is still doing what I'm expecting it to do. So the point here is if anybody's watching this, take that note seriously. You know, the one key point is all this stuff, my ultimate goal was that everything here lived and stayed as happy as it was when it was sitting over there. You know, a lot of times people come into the store and they ask for advice. You know, how do I move my tank? What do I do? Well, you have to think about that. The ultimate goal is everything that you have is still alive and happy at the end of this. I hear, well, I'm redoing my floors. I'm putting up all new wall, whatever, coverings, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, take your time, move this to some place where it can live the same way that it was, where it was, and then everything else can take its time. You know, like I said, I have other obligations, so this was like tinker here, tinker there, worry about other things. And while I'm doing that, that's all still doing what it does. The flip side of the coin, if I rush this, guess what? I'm gonna have leaky plumbing. Maybe I wouldn't have enough foresight to think, well, I want to mount all my electrical here. I want space over there to put my chemicals where the wet stuff is. Maybe I wouldn't have put that much thought into it, and I would have just rushed to hurry up and get it done because I was worried everything was going to die. So think about that in a one-day process. If I move this tank and that tank and I plumbed all of it in one shot, now I've got to get it all up and running at the end of the day when I'm tired and ready to go to bed. That's a terrible plan. I was actually ready to fill this with water last night, and I knew that was a bad idea to do because if I was to fill it, confident as I am in my plumbing or whatever abilities, you know, what if I miss something? What if I put 120 gallons of water in there and then I got this running again, which there's not a lot of corals in here, but there's a fish that I care about. And there's a few corals that I really care about. On top of the fact that we've got all this equipment that's other people's here that could get wet. At the end of the day, water from here to there is a bad thing. So I opted to save that to do this morning, and I think that was probably the best choice. When we're filling, it's a good opportunity to think about how much water it is too. When we have to do calculations that involve how much water volume it is, I really have no clue. I'm kind of at this point guessing that this is 120 gallons. I did the figure, it's right around there. You know, I mentioned that on my 65 gallon too, that tank is supposed to be called a 65 gallon, but it only holds 45 gallons of water. So if I'm doing figures based on 65, I might better re-guess myself, right? Before, anytime you're getting ready to fill something that has overflow boxes on the inside of the tank, it's a good idea to dump a gallon of water or less inside of them just to check your bulkheads. Because there's nothing that sucks more than when you get everything running, there's no leaks in any of your plumbing, and then it gets to crest the weir on the overflow and starts to fill up and you realize, oh crap, I got a leak. Now the entire volume of that overflow, and in this case, that one too, could potentially be running all over the floor.
I'm gonna take a quick picture to make sure this comes out the same way that we want it to. Man, I can never figure out this pro picture, Josh. There it is. All right, so what we're gonna do here is, Josh has been working on this for on and off for about a week. It's been a lot going on here. And we got the big giant frac tank. How big is that thing, Josh?
It's 120 something gallon.
It's like almost 4x4, right? 4x40, we say?
48 by 40 by I think 18 or something like that.
18, it's pretty big, man. It's
Yeah.
a really gigantic frac tank. And obviously you guys seen part of the video where what he's gonna be doing over there is gonna be growing Euphilia, mushrooms, gonioporas, acants, everything that needs really low flow.
Everything that's not an acro.
Yeah, everything that is not an acro, humus, mushrooms, all of the above. And then here on this tank, the 125, we're gonna turn it into basically all the acroporas here. So I was just talking to Josh, the game plan, we're gonna grab these 2 top rocks, we're gonna put them on the frac tank, and then there's about 6 rocks we say on the bottom, something 6 or 7.
There's 7 total, I think.
So here we go. Let's talk more action. Let's start with this here.
Gotta find a place to grab that's not coral.
Oh, what a beauty. How much for this rock?
It's just a bunch of frags.
Got it?
Yep. As long as we can get to that far bottom left rock.
No, let's just start with this rock here then.
It's gonna show all my bubble algae.
It's all right. It's part of the game, right? Pretty heavy actually, but you don't know. Got it?
Yep.
Keep the hand there. Go, go. This is attaching. I don't want him to rip.
Oh, poor things.
Doing a little cleanup on the rocks. We're taking advantage that everything's out. Not often you get to do some of this work. Beat up some of the algae, the fish. Nobody could make it in there. Everything was really cramped up. Scraping it right off. Wow, we're definitely farming some bubble algae around here. What do you guys think?
Wait, ready? I couldn't reach it.
All in one. He took it to the next level when it means all in one. He's even doing a refugium in there. Got it?
This is the one thing that I wanted to kill the most. Look, those pallies.
Yeah, can't be more than the giant acacia back there. Holy
I couldn't
cannoli.
get to them.
I know. Well, that's one of the reasons why we upgraded to a bigger tank. The tank got so overgrown that literally you couldn't reach.
It wasn't just that. The rocks are so close to the glass.
They were growing more.
Yep.
It's like when you see those TV show cops and they got those people like on drugs and they taste them. It's like they get more power, like like that's the palitoas when Josh is shooting the cog ones and they're like they just going berserk. So little tip, you guys see me here, I've been mixing a bunch of epoxy and I got a little bit of epoxy there. The key is keep your hands wet when you're mixing it. Very important. Another important thing too is when you mix the epoxy, you guys see how it's got a white inside and then it's got a green layer outside? Make sure when you cut it, try to cut it as even as you can. Some people just take a chunk from the side and too much white might come out without the green, and when you mix it, sticks to your fingers. And it doesn't have the same adhesive materials when you don't mix it properly, you know? You put too much of one and not the other. Just a little tip for you guys at home. Here you go, Josh.
Super good tip. Anytime you're cutting bone cut with your bone cutters, in your right-handed, it always goes to the right. So you can pretty much aim. I know it sounds stupid, but anytime you have a branching coral, hold the branch, because that jarring action, this will actually break off. Every time.
Versus them going flying everywhere.
All right, cool. So everything's in here. It's taken up the entire 125 now. I think we'll probably wrap it up for the night. Maybe make sure some of my rocks are sitting down nice and tight. And we'll see how it looks in the morning. I gotta make sure that my flow is similar to, or a little bit better than what I had in the 65. And I will probably set the par to be about the same, maybe a little bit less, just because it's through a transitional period. But I mean, job well done. It looks amazing, I think. We'll see how it looks in a couple of months.
Wow, we killed it yesterday, man. I mean, it took us about an hour to do the main transfer, which Josh had it all on his mind. It had nothing to do with me. He just asked me for a pair of hands. We always work well together. But now that I see it the day after, obviously the water's a little cloudy as I see some micro bubbles. Wow, it looks so much better open. It's clean. Josh hates to clean his glass. Guys, post some comments below. Tell him to clean his glass, please, man. He loves to leave the side glass dirty, the back glass. I hate it with passion. I still see a little bit of bubble algae. I'm sure he's gonna have room to take it out now. Before, literally, the tank was so tight that you couldn't reach anywhere to get rid of them, you know, period. The bubble algae was just everywhere. He has some aptasia going on. The cover band also was taking care of it, but he couldn't reach in certain areas because it was so tight. So that's where the aptasias were growing. But man, this tank's gonna look phenomenal. He's got the 3 Generation 6 radiums going on, 2 MP40s. I mean, I can only imagine what this is gonna look in the near future. And then he's got this giant frac tank, which is 5 feet long by 40 inches wide. It is 150 gallons roughly. It's 18 inches tall. As you guys can see, we got already a bunch of mushrooms. We got some euphyllia, some zoas, some acans, some humas, couple chalices. It looks amazing. So it's not gonna deliver a lot of flow in here, and we're not sure what kind of lights we're gonna use on this tank yet. But again, it looks very good. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get a couple more shots before the end of the video, but I had to get in here and just take a peek at it. It looks really, really good, guys.
Hopefully this video turns out good. A lot of our comments in the last video pointed towards the fact that you guys wanted to see the process of moving this. Well, I think I've done a fairly decent job of explaining the concept of doing it in smaller intervals so that it's not impactful. You know, these corals sat over here in my original tank for probably a week, but I knew that originally going into this I'd want them on standby. And you know, everything functioned just as normal. I didn't lose anything. Everything looks just as good as it did when I originally moved the tank. So I think I'm going to give my seal of approval here by saying that everything looks good. I'm happy with the aquascape. The corals didn't take any kind of hard hit, and now I've actually got room to spread things out. So you know, it's nice and clear. I think the job well done. I had a little bit of help because I'm kind of a busybody around here, but for those of you looking to do it yourself, just plan it. Make sure that you've got time for an oops, or make sure that you've got time to leave things idle for a while. And in the case where, you know, let's say you're redoing your flooring or whatever, maybe the tank needs to be completely transplanted somewhere else. And it's an extreme, but at the same time, you've got that ability to let things sit idle. So key point to take away there. Next, I guess, is to put lights over this. I'm pretty happy with the lights and flow here. I really don't know what I'm gonna do yet. So I don't know, maybe a couple comments or a couple suggestions. Maybe we can capture some of the corals for a nice closeout here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, don't forget, like and subscribe. Make sure you leave us comments so that we know how to do this better in the future. We appreciate you guys.